What is up, Jags fans? I'm Schultzy here with the Jaguars UNcovered. New show here, brought to you by the Undroppables Network. Super pumped about what they got going on here. New project they're starting called Uncovered. And I'm honored to be representing the Jags here. Uncovered is a new perspective here to your favorite teams, content completely made by fans for the fans. So yeah, super excited. I think a lot of this stuff's gonna be super relatable to fans out there. And like I said, super pumped and honored to be covering the Jags here. You may already know me from Twitter, possibly, Schultzy here, or possibly from Jaguars on SI, formerly Jaguar Report. Shout out to John Shipley. I do some fantasy betting writing for him over there. So, like I said, you may have caught me in one of those two places, but if you've never run into me before, I'm Schultzy, and I've been a Jaguars fan since I was a little kid. Okay, and I grew up in Northern Indiana, but I just guess I latched onto it. I love the colors, the logo, the jerseys, and as I got into middle school, it turned into a huge passion of mine, and quite frankly, a big chunk of my identity. I'm Duval till we die through and through. I promise to everything that I care about this stupid football team winning just as much as you do. And we're in the true off season here, so not much really to get going on. But with that said, let's kick off this first episode. All right, shout out to the Undroppables team for making that awesome video for me. Love it. And the overlay here that they made, like some real pro stuff going on in the editing department, and I love it. They all did it for me. Yeah, even better, right? But hey, first up, we're gonna talk Trevor, and we're talking the contract, obviously. And the first thing first here is it's going to reset our market, right? The quarterback market. And props to Trent Baalke. Here we are, episode 1 of this new Jaguars show. And the first thing I've done is given Trent Baalke props. So I'm immune from here on out if I ever say anything negative about him, because I'm sure I will. However, with that being said, let's give the man some dang credit for the fact that he got it done with Trevor's camp. And, credit there too. But when you're looking at Trevor, Tua Tagovailoa, Dak Prescott, Jordan Love, this group of 4 guys is all set to get paid to get this next contract. And you're essentially saving a huge chunk of money by being the first one to get this done, right? I mean, by the time the fourth down falls here, that contract's going to be significantly more expensive. And I'm not going to like hardcore break it down here, but just to highlight some of the reasons this is a great deal. This upcoming season, 2024, Trevor's going to have a 1.05 million base salary, obviously because of that monster signing bonus, but hey, that's how it works. 2025, 25.6 million base salary on the 5th-year option. Not even bad, right? And by 2028, his highest percentage cap hit, which is a big deal, the percentage of cap hit, because it goes up every year and everybody balks at all these numbers. But percentage of cap hit, by 2028, his highest is 14.1. And a lot of these other quarterback contracts, you're looking at 20 to 22, 23%. So all around, great deal. Great job by Baalke to get this done. And yeah, that's been his overall best strength as GM so far at the Jaguars is working contracts, in my opinion. And one thing you're going to hear a lot with Trevor and have heard, I guess, is he hasn't earned it. Excuse me? How? Like, last in the division with Urban as a rookie. Look, we all saw it, right? Urban was just, the thing on Twitter recently about worst head coach in NFL history. Boom, number 1, Urban Meyer. You had to deal with that terrible roster, complete overhaul in 1 year, goes to division title winner. Follows it up with another winning season. Look, I know what happened. Well, I watched it. It sucked, but it's still a winning season. Back-to-back winning seasons for the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? A team that since 2007, prior to Trevor's arrival, had one winning season. And then he did it twice in 3 years. Isn't that what a franchise quarterback does? Right? Like elevates, carries the team to the next level. Like, isn't that a franchise quarterback right there? In 2022, he won 6 of 7 games down the stretch. Put the team on his back, won a division title. Followed it up with a huge 28-point playoff comeback against the Chargers in the wild card round. Put the team on his back after he threw 4 picks and dug the hole himself. That's the big criticism, right? Well, he threw 4 picks. You're damn right he did. But he looked himself in the eyes and he said, I dug the hole and I'm going to get the team out. And he did. Followed it up, game against the Chiefs at Arrowhead on the road. Took them to the wire. It was a 10-point loss, but hey, they were in that game the whole time. Christian Kirk doesn't haul in that huge deep bomb. Agnew fumbles that ball in the goal, in the red zone. A couple of big time mistakes that alter that game. You can't play the what if game, but they were there. They were in that game, and it was the Chiefs in the playoffs. Trevor was so good in 2022 that he had all of us, and I don't even mean us as Jags fans. I mean us as like football fans in general, the media, fans, everyone, that this was a legitimate Super Bowl contender this past season. That's how good Trevor was. Once he got hurt, the roster was absolutely exposed, right? Isn't that what a franchise quarterback does? Is he covers holes, elevates those around him? That's what a franchise quarterback does. Obviously, you're watching the show, you're probably a Jags fan, and you probably know who the Ryan Michael is. And shout out to the Ryan Michael on Twitter because this guy has been the Trevor Warrior we've all needed. Hashtag all 22 Trevor. And Ryan has talked about execution games, right? And those are in a single game, you have 100 plus passer rating on 30 plus pass attempts with 70 plus percent completion percentage and 0 interceptions. In between 2022 and the 2023 season, remember Trevor was like halfway crippled the second half of the season. Trevor did that 8 times. Led the league. Number 2, Mahomes. I want to say Stafford was on that list. There's a couple other guys, all tied with 5. Trevor has 3 more than anyone else in the league. So that's a game where you're very efficient and effective on a lot of volume, and you don't screw up. And Trevor has the most of those games. Putting the team on his back, Greg Jennings style. Isn't that what a franchise quarterback does? How's he not earned it? Answer me that, because he can't. You look at the other guys he's up against here. You got Tua, who can't hardly beat a winning team, can't play in the cold. Crumbles are pretty much when things are not perfect around him. In my opinion, huge product of the system. I think he's an average quarterback, but without that offense, he's not looked at as a potential MVP candidate like we've done 2 years in a row for the first 2.5 months of the season. You look at Dak, who's about to get paid. Yeah, I'll give you he's earned it. 2-5 in the playoffs, but like he's played pretty well overall. He's got a 91.8 rating in the playoffs, and he's played with a ton of really good talent in Dallas. Jordan Love's going to get paid. That's probably deserved. Yeah, he's a product of that scheme as well, but he's done way more for his case as far as comeback wins, making just crazy plays when he needs to. He's earned that money, I think. I know he's got a small sample, but he's probably earned it. Anyways, you look at some of the surrounding talent these other teams have. far beyond what Trevor's done. And Trevor's still gone out there and put up these back-to-back winning seasons, like I mentioned. So 2022 completely elevated a 32-year-old Marvin Jones and brought back Zay Jones from the dead like the Undertaker. He also, that same season, brought the world's most overpaid wide receiver, Christian Kirk, gave him a career year. New York cast off Evan Ingram, career year. So elevating those around him. Isn't that what a franchise quarterback does? You look at last year, his surrounding talent, we all saw it, was bad. Trevor lost 37.8 EPA to drops, and second was a negative 32.93. So it's about a 5-point gap here that Trevor lost more to drops than any other quarterback. PFF had him ranked 30th in the league in supporting cast last year. So yeah, once again, Trevor's doing it with nothing, with not much around him. Exactly what a franchise quarterback does. He's earned it. Like I don't get it. This group next year, hands down, the most talented positional group he's got around him in his career. You talk about the drop passes. We all watched the touchdown montage that floated around Twitter. 2 minutes of just what could have been, what should have been, right? Well, you look at a lot of Brian Thomas's clips, and I'll get on my Brian Thomas rant in a second, but you like the hands you see in the red zone, especially the red zone a lot. His hands didn't get tested a lot, many other places, but you love to see it in the red zone. And you can only assume that's going to translate over to the field as well. Gabe Davis, also another great red zone guy. But between the two, here we go. The speed. Both of these dudes, the speed combined here is going to be light years beyond what we just saw with Ridley and Zay Jones, right? That is going to do wonders for this offense. And Trevor finally has legitimate deep options to throw to, right? Like he's got two actual deep ball receivers, and he throws an awesome deep ball. I want to say he was 5th in the league in PFF rating on deep ball passes last year, and I want to say 3rd underneath. So the offense is going to operate deep. They're going to operate underneath. They've got really good players, 4 really good players at all those spots. The 2 really good deep options are only going to make Kirk and Ingram that much more effective. And once again, hammering home, Trevor's best at the underneath game and the deep game. This is where they've put all their marbles into, is those 2 spots. Now, Brian Thomas, if you follow me on Twitter, I've been the pessimistic fan about Brian Thomas. I just don't think he's like that true complete X receiver that you see out of like a CD Lamb or something. Like I just don't see him becoming that type of player. However, in the Jaguars behind the scenes documentary thing they did, and I'm blanking on the name of it right now. I think it was in the draft room, or maybe it was an interview with a coach. I don't know. He said, speaking of Brian Thomas, he goes, he can run all the routes we're going to ask him to run. And that was a really encouraging quote, because a lot of times you see coaches kind of square peg round hole some of these prospects. And when you compare what Ridley did last year, how they used him on a lot of, deep balls, comebacks, screens, slants, things like that. It profiles exactly the same to how Brian Thomas got used at LSU. And so if they were pigeonholing Ridley into the wrong role, which they were, well, hey, they maybe actually wised up and drafted a guy who's actually going to fit that role. So props there. If they're not expecting Brian Thomas to become CeeDee Lamb, then no, great. Like, because I'm not sold that he's got that kind of skills, or those kind of skills, or that kind of game, I guess. So yeah, very encouraging to hear that that's how they want to use Brian Thomas. Because I just remember like last year watching um, Ridley getting stuck on the outside when Zay was hurt, and then they're using Agnew as kind of like the motion guy, getting him into some nice matchups, getting really creative with a lot of his routes. And it's really frustrating because it's like this should be Ridley doing that because he sometimes it felt like the game was flowing through that guy more. So it just felt like we had a Ridley run cardio out there sometimes trying to get creative with Agnew. And to me, it should have been swapped. But hey, now that guy's actually going to be a dude out there who's big, tall, and fast. Great. This this team is screaming positive regression everywhere. The receivers, the O line, you're looking at they were last in the league in yards before contact, I want to say. Travis Etienne had just nowhere to run, forced the most missed tackles in the league last year with nowhere to run. So just improve a little bit, man, right? Like, so I think the biggest thing here is Mitch Morse. I You look at a lot of replays, and people post clips on Twitter of Trevor just getting absolutely swarmed or like a run play dying. And honestly, it's like those guys that sometimes just didn't even know who each other were blocking, who each other was supposed to, who they were supposed to block themselves. And a lot of that it goes through the center, right? Like back to Luke Fortner. So you had Luke Fortner who apparently couldn't get the line, couldn't get their stuff together. And then he also couldn't block his own guy, even if he knew who it was. So Mitch Morris is going to come in. He's going to at least be a serviceable blocker. And as long as he can get everybody in the right spot, doing the right things, I think you're going to see a huge improvement alone in that aspect. Because even if it happens a couple times a game, those are like, let's just say 4 completely blown up plays. And a lot of times at critical times. Mitch Morris, I think, is going to be a huge addition. I think you get Anton going into his second season is going to be huge. Ezra sitting at left guard and getting a whole camp, being hopefully fully healthy, I think will be helpful. I think the offensive line here is looking at some nice depth with Foster getting drafted in the 4th and get Cooper Hodges back. And so, yeah, I think the depth situation is sitting a little better. But overall, yeah, it's got to improve. It's got to. Like, there's just no other way around it. Okay, you got Shad speaking, right? And I'll just dip into a couple of things I thought were notable from him. And he said, so everyone we wanted to interview here. And that is huge, right? I mean, we've watched this team go through a bazillion coaches. We've watched this team bring in guys for interviews that were like, what the hell is going on? That like it mind blowing at times, but it's because those are the only dudes who would take an interview, quite frankly, and that's sad. That's where this organization and team was for that long. So to be in the spot where, hey, every single guy we interviewed for this job wants to be here and wants this job is a complete 180. Organizationally, some things are getting right. I know it's obviously not all there, but like some things are getting right. Trevor's locked up. Josh Allen's locked up. 2 homegrown talents, elite blue chip players, one on each side of the ball, locked up long term. It hasn't happened around here, period. Another thing, speaking on Trevor, Shad said, I think he represents the city. He represents the Jaguars. Couldn't ask for anyone better. Obviously, I was hoping that would get done before this, and I'm glad it did get done. So he also talked about, he mentions he wanted this to get done a long time ago. But yeah, he really wanted this done a long time ago. He mentioned that he knew Trevor was, the guy. He knows he's the guy to lead this team. He's wanted it done all along, but he also understood the business side of it. Once again, props to Balky, props to Trevor's camp for making this reality. And Trevor's ours, baby. Shad called out the O-line. he referenced the 32nd ranked O-line, and that there needs to be improvement there. And how does there not? And like I just mentioned with Mitch Morris, I don't think it's going to be incredibly hard to see improvement. You do some of these little things right. You're looking at a 15 to 20th ranked offensive line. Let's say if that's where they end up, that's probably enough for this team with Trevor's pocket mobility. Um, just get some improvement and just have like somewhat of a rushing game. Combine that with the deep threat stuff, it's gonna be good enough. And lastly, him talking about the play calling. It's very clear that Shad wants Doug Peterson to call the plays. As far as mentioning, well, not mentioning, but pretty much insinuating that Doug's future with the team is kind of hanging in the balance this year. So you would think he would take this situation into his own hands. All of us are hoping for it. I don't think Press Taylor is as bad as everybody. I don't think he's that terrible like everyone gives him crap for. Do I think he's great? No, but I don't think he's like a catastrophic play caller like a lot of people think. But it is what it is. Still hoping for Doug. And finally, just congrats to Trevor and Melissa on the baby coming. The king and queen of Duval are gonna have a prince or a princess, and it's gonna be spoiled as hell and well deserved. They are such a genuine couple. You love to see all their posts, and you see the posts, you see people take pictures of them in public. They're always so happy to be in the community. Trevor's always repping Jags gear. His press conferences, he's got the cool, throwback logo gear. They love being in the city. They love everything about the community. Trevor loves the team. What more do you want from a franchise quarterback? How has he not earned it, right? um, so yeah, love Trevor so much. We are so lucky to have him, and he's ours forever. Other than that, that's gonna be it for me on the episode 1 here. Thank you for tuning in. Honestly, this is very humbled by it all, and very appreciative to the Undroppables network here. All that said, I'll probably be bringing episode 2 closer to camp, unless some crazy Jaguar stuff happens here the next couple weeks, but I'm not anticipating that. So go ahead and look for an episode pre-training camp. And other than that, it's about it for me. Yeah. Hey, once again, appreciate the crap out of you if you listen to me ramble for 23 minutes here. Other than that, subscribe to the channel. It means the world to us. And tell all of your friends, even if they aren't Jaguars friends, tell them, because they'll probably have a someone covering their team soon. Peace.